Does you ruin it?
No, it doesn't make it through. I'll just go to the second one. But okay, welcome everyone to our Godcast.
Godcast.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
the name of the podcast, which is
Call him Father. Like the out of the podcast.
like the other one that's more successful. And well, the
Just 'cause
goal
they're
of this is
women.
one day to get Kamala Harris on this cat.
It'll be a much different energy.
Oh yeah,
So what happened? What happened?
You tried to take on the boss, you lost.
Yeah, exactly. Call him Father. Now the him is
No.
now the him is Trump.
No, it is
That he has
not.
to call. She has to call him Daddy now.
Josh, that's my line.
Oh.
I say that's not funny.
Oh,
But okay, so last time we got up to the fall of man, Eve was tricked by the snake, who was just like, "Yeah, try it out,"
give it a shot.
and she was like, "Okay."
He'll be like God.
And now we're going to move on to Cain and Abel. But before we do that, we're going to rate our own spirituality and religious
Perfect.
levels today. Josh, I would like
Yep.
you to go first.
I'll go first. Spiritual. I think last week I was like a 4, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I think this week I'm like a 6.
Really?
Or I'm more, but that's because I'm more angry. That's
So
because
there's-
which we talked about
So
pre-pod.
emotion is tied to your spiritual
I
experience.
think so, 100%. I think that's something the rocks being loosened, I think, is like me being more emotional and experiencing those things and tying them into spirituality rather than just dampening them. And so I'm feeling
Yeah.
a lot more anger towards God.
Okay.
And I think that's something that God invites us into. I think God says, yeah, be angry with me. Be honest. You know, like don't pretend like you're not angry and come in all pious and be like, God, you're the best. But like if you're mad,
truth will
exactly.
set you free.
The truth, right? Just like those black people say.
No,
and that's
it's
what.
just in the Bible.
Is that not?
Yeah. They
all right,
they
that's cool.
didn't invent it, but they do like it a lot. And I
Okay.
like that because it's a good saying.
Sure, it is a good saying. Good word. It's a good word. And so I think, yeah, so I'm just being more honest with God. And it's actually more emotionally tumultuous, but I think is long run good because I'm coming from an honest place rather than hiding myself, which is what you saw Adam and Eve do early. It's like they hid immediately.
Oh, right. They hid
hid.
when he came down
Looking for
walking in
them.
his sandals.
Because of shame and guilt. And so I, a lot of the times, hide myself. And I'm learning to not hide myself and be honest and be like, God, I'm upset at you.
Yeah.
And so trying to do that. And so I think I'm higher. I'm like a 6 this week. And then in terms of religion, I'm like, what did I say last week? 8?
I think you said it's a 7 or 8.
7 or 8. I think in this journey of becoming more spiritual, well, no, it's probably not true. I'm probably still like a 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does that mean to you again?
I firmly identify myself as Christian.
Okay.
I'm Christian.
Okay.
I'm not like a crazy conservative Baptist teetotaling whatever,
Sure.
which I would probably count as like a 10.
Yeah.
But I'm like I'm firmly a Christian.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
Spiritual. That's interesting that I guess I've the times where I felt spiritual, I've only paid attention to it and called it that when it's been a positive thing. So like last week I was doing well, and so I felt very spiritual, but it was in a good way. So I didn't look at it like that. But I don't know. I'm a little. This week has been great and bad, but you only remember the bad when
Sure.
you're feeling it.
It's all that matters, really.
Yeah, it's true. But I guess I think I'd put myself at like, I don't know. When I review my week, though, it was really cool. I put myself, and there was like a lot of like things that felt like blessings and like connective moments. So I'll put myself at a 6 or a 7.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Religious. I don't know. I'm reading this every morning right when I wake up.
Nice.
Which I don't think is a good way to do it, actually. For my first thing, for you, like, oh, I gotta fucking do this bullshit.
Sure.
Yeah, I gotta read this dumb book. But I don't know. I'm going to church like pretty regularly now, like every Sunday with you, and I'm doing another thing.
Right. What is that?
We'll be anonymous
About? Oh, okay.
And that feels like a little religious in a sense. I guess I put myself at a 3.
3? All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like I'm not identifying in any way. Like I'm not saying I am this, I am that, but like I'm openly telling people like, yeah, I go to church on Sundays and I do
Nice.
this other thing.
Yeah.
That's anonymous.
That sometimes I've heard of just random groups of all sorts of groups that just meet in churches.
Sure.
Either basements or otherwise.
Right.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, sure.
So yeah, That's where I'm at.
He's in the clan.
Reading. That's the anonymous group. I mean, that's more anonymous because you don't see their faces.
That's a good point. We don't even know who's in the.
I don't think they're like, "Hi, my name's Carl. I'm a racist."
Yeah, 100%. They're like, just take the mask off, Carl.
Yeah,
What are we doing?
We know who you are. We had dinner last week. But I do feel the same way. Like the more I read, and the more like it becomes like I guess like an intellectual or an academic pursuit, the less religious I feel.
That's so funny because you know who else? Wait, who else thinks that? Oh, Tom Holland. Have I talked to you about Tom? I talked to him about him last time.
Tom Holland, the guy who played Spider-Man?
Yeah. No, he's a historian. He's actually in the New York Comedy Festival.
What?
Because he does the Everything's History podcast or something like that. It's a very popular podcast.
Oh, okay.
History podcast. So he wrote that book right next to you, Dominion. Oh. He's a secular historian, but through his study of history is kind of becoming a Christian. Oh. And he says the more he looks at the academic intellectual side of Christianity, the less he like kind of believes it, because he's like, there's so many beliefs out there, there's so many, but the more he engages in it on the spiritual side, the more religious he does feel. When he does it and experiences it, he's like, oh, this is legit. But when he just does his head without his heart, he feels like, well, there's no way this could be, because it feels like you're relying on yourself.
Like it's too easy to be like, well, cannot literally be true.
Sure.
Or like, how am I supposed to take this seriously? And then the second it becomes analytical, it takes away it takes away the emotion for a reason. You're trying to assess if it's real or not. Right,
which is so funny that people, and this is something I'm learning too, is saying like, oh, well, if we want it to be real, we should probably take emotion out of it. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
What? I love this person. Well, let me take my religion. Let me take my feelings out of the love for this person.
Let me do a pros and cons.
Right. Exactly. Let me see if I actually love this person based on. It's like, well, no, that's like one of the main deals of love is feeling. Yeah. You know, it'd be like, otherwise you look like you love nobody. I would say you're a dick to most people.
Anytime I'm like, let me think about this alone a little bit harder. It's probably not the right. It's probably not the way I should be doing it.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of this, and again, we're kind of meeting in the same level of like experiencing God, is like we experience him. We don't say, well, let me look at you. Let me look at you and see what's going on. It's like you need to dive in and experience the Lord and how he drives us and leads us and stuff like that. And I think that's an experiential thing, although intellect is definitely involved. I don't want to sound like we're uneducated, dumb, whatever. But
of course. Yeah, there's a really great book by Jonathan Haidt. I don't know if you know who Jonathan Haidt is, but it's called The Happiness Hypothesis. But
cool.
He a big part of it is like your emotions are kind of the guiding force that you're riding, and he calls that the elephant, and then the intellect is the rider. But it's this small thing on this big beast,
right? And
you can learn to steer a little bit, but at the end of the day, that is the truth. Like, source of energy, and the control is in that animal's space. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're doing Cain and Able.
Right.
This is a good one. This is I like this story, but only because it was first brought to me through John Steinbeck. So that's
right.
I'm coming into
East of Eden. It's right behind the camera.
East of Eden, great book.
Great book.
Great author.
Oh, pretty good. Dude, on Tuesdays in stores when they do that, they put out little toots like that. And I'm like, I would put these to shame.
Oh my God.
Put them
I really regret doing that.
The farts
right by my mouth.
That's another thing I think about. I'm like, do they not?
Stuck around.
Well, I think it's because of the foam.
Yeah.
It's probably, if there was no foam, it would probably just
it really
flow
keeps
right
the
over
spirit
it.
In. Yeah. Whoa, I'm going to need a mint.
The mic's going to need a mint.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, how about this? I think what might be good is, because I'm reading this, but I'm not like ingesting it all. Maybe you go through what happens.
Sure.
And then that way I don't have to like reread it. You go through what happens and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, cool.
Give the basic synopsis.
Yeah, so in short, just with the Cain and Able part. So Cain and Able are children of Adam and Eve. And they both have their different jobs. Cain is like a grower, like a fruits and vegetables and whatnot.
Farmer, he grows weed hydroponically.
Yeah, vertical farming. He does a lot of that. Really smart stuff.
Strong
Good stuff. And then Abel is like a farmer, right? And so they both sacrifice what they have to God. Abel sacrifices his best, like the cream of the crop, his best thing he gives to the Lord. And Cain like just kind of throws up some stuff, like some pretty okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And God favors Abel because his sacrifice is good, whereas Cain is like not, is like kind of keeping the best, doesn't offer his best to the Lord.
Oh.
And so
It's so funny because reading this, I don't get any of those nuances.
interesting.
There's nothing in there that's like he's keeping his best stuff. There's
Sure. Well,
It's
let's
just
dive into it. Let's see what's that. And so basically, in that,
Keep going.
Cain gets really upset and is like, God, what the hell? I'm giving you some good stuff. And he's like, look at your brother Abel, give as he gives. And then he's like, yeah, good point. And then he is like, hey, Abel, meet me out in this field. And then they, set a time and date. And they head out there. And then Cain just offs him with a big old rock or something of the sort.
Sure.
And then God is like, Cain, where's Abel? Then he's like, am I my brother's keeper? I don't, why should I know where he is? And then he's like, you killed him, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah. And then God banishes him, or God banishes Cain. And then Cain's like, I'm going to get killed out there. And then God's like, I'm going to put a mark on your forehead and everyone will know to not harm you. So even though he killed Abel, God sustains Cain by giving him a sign that says you will be protected.
Okay. So first off, it's like in the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and their fat portions. So I guess you just added a lot to that. Like you said, like he didn't bring him the best stuff. This guy, I mean,
Sure.
he's a farmer. He brings him fucking crops.
Yeah, the fruit of the ground. I mean, I think a lot of what's read into there is saying the first of his flocks. That's one thing, and the fat portions. So he's being more specific, saying Abel, like, yeah, Cain brought him some stuff, and then Abel brought him some great stuff.
Okay, so paying
like
attention
good
to like
stuff.
when there's detail.
Yeah,
That's
there's an implied
There's an
negativity.
implied
Otherwise,
negativity.
he would say he brought him his first fruits,
Yeah.
or something of that nature.
Okay. I think there's fully a fight going on outside your apartment.
Dude, sometimes that happens. That's happened at 3 a.m. one time. Just people are full on screaming. It's interesting because I feel so safe in here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is kind of fun. Like,
Yeah,
you just
it's
get
like
to
a movie.
listen to a real argument. It's like, I've been waiting to hear gunshots. No gunshots yet.
There
but
won't be gunshots. You'll be fine. Because you got someone looking over you. But
That's a good
so you said something else about how he's gonna. This is another question that I have. So the Adam and Eve, they're the first people.
Yep.
They, by the way, dude, just they gotta stop saying "come" in church.
I know, dude.
Jesus
I know.
Christ.
They say it so
They
much.
say "come,"
Especially when you're singing
so
come and you're saying come inside me. It's
Oh
like,
my God,
jeez. This is not. What's crazy is I'm like, am I just being a weird comic about this?
Yes.
There's no way that other people aren't
There's no
also
way
like,
that-
this is come Holy Spirit inside me.
No way
It's like,
that
come on.
anyone who knows what the word "come" means is not in there being like,
Oh, it's spelled different. Yeah, it
This
sounds
is
exact same.
egregious.
It sounds
this
exact
is
same.
egregious how many times he's
Terrible.
like, when will Jesus come? And when he comes, he will come with vengeance and he will come hard. And you're like, dude, he will come hard?
He will come while he's hard.
He will come while he's hard.
And then
You're like,
afterwards he will be
all
soft.
right,
It's like,
we gotta find a different.
Yeah.
Arrive is right there.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
Arrive.
He will,
Return.
He will descend.
Descend.
He will do, yeah.
Stop saying "come."
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
come aside. So this is what I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
They're the first people.
Sure.
They have Cain and Abel. Those are the second-ish people, it
Yes.
seems. He goes, hey, if you send me out, people are going to kill me. Who are those people?
Sure. So that's a huge debate, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you take the theistic evolution side of things, right, you're going to say that there are just tons of people out there, right? How they delineate that, I don't really know. Also, the idea of he knows they're going to keep making people, so there could be more people eventually, like descendants and whatever. Because they say Cain and Abel, it doesn't mean it's just the four of them, right?
Yeah.
Adam and Eve could have had like a ton of kids before that. It could have been 100 years after. It could have been whatever. You don't know that, right?
Sure.
So
they don't
it's
say that they're their firstborn or their only born.
right,
I guess.
100%. And also, and I was going to dive into this maybe later, but they talk about the Nephilim.
Yeah. What? That's
Right.
I had that written down because it's like, who are these guys?
Right. So the Nephilim, I mean, I can't, again,
The book doesn't even know.
Huge debate. Yeah. Some people think that the Nephilim are fallen angels, right?
Okay.
So and then they talk about them intermixing, like the sons of men slept with sons of God. So sons of God being Adam and Eve and those descendants, and then sons of men perhaps being from the Nephilim or fallen angels, right? And that's why the people became corrupted, because they spread, they intermingled, right? No mixing. And so like there could be Nephilim out there, fallen angels, that Cain could perhaps be coming across and being like, they're going to kill me.
Okay.
Again, who knows exactly the source of these people, who exactly they are, but there's other folks out there either now or eventually. The most conservative view would say it was just the 4 of them. Cain, then it was just the 3 of them. Went down to 3.
Sure.
And then Cain just knew that eventually they were going to populate the earth, so there would be people out there. I think that'd be the most conservative view on it. It seems kind of unrealistic to me, but it's kind of unrealistic. It seems a little out there, but okay. That's so funny. Everyone listen to me is like, okay.
Maybe they should have named the Bible Kind of Unrealistic.
We get it if you don't get it.
We get it.
We get this is crazy.
It's
I'm going
going
to
to
turn
be a
myself
tough
down.
sell, but just trust us.
Right.
Once you're 8,000 pages in,
It's going to
you're
click.
really going to start
gonna
liking
click. Yeah.
the main character that we produce.
Right.
8,000 pages.
Well, that's
in.
actually interesting. Keep an eye out for the main character throughout the entire Bible. He shows up.
Oh, okay. Well, because he's also God, but also God is him, and then also he's the different guy.
Yeah, but listen for the name Melchizedek. Also listen for the name of he walked with them in the garden. So Jesus shows up all throughout.
Okay. All right. So whoever finds me will kill me. It's the mark of Cain.
Yep.
Does that have... Now, again, I don't know much about this stuff, so be patient. What is, Ash Wednesday or whatever? Ash Thursday? What day is it?
Ash Wednesday.
And they put the mark. That's not the mark of Cain.
No.
That's not anywhere connected at all?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
That's just a reminder to Ash you came into dust, to Ash you will return.
Yeah. And then he gets, he settles in the land of Nod. East of Eden.
Also, east, generally speaking, in Scripture, east is a bad direction to go in.
Why? Because of this? This is the genesis of that?
I don't. It could be Genesis.
Yeah.
Could be that. But
it's just a theme throughout.
It's just a motif. It's like if they're going east is like ugh, and west is better.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't quite know what my question
Also,
would be.
I could just be super American about this.
Yeah,
and be like a manifest destiny.
Yeah,
and
that's
just like
what
west
it feels
is better.
Like. That's what it feels like.
I mean, it's not at anybody. It's not like anyone who lives east is better. Like, we're not worse for living in New York than, freaking Montana or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
well, that's not what people in Montana probably think. But
that's probably all of our Montana listeners.
To a thing we haven't published yet.
They don't know that, okay?
Sure, sorry.
This is the second episode.
Yeah. It's all live.
It's all, it's happening right now.
It.
Call in. It's just a motif.
Okay. Interesting. All right. But I bet it was used for Manifest Destiny.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm totally sure misused for that. Misused for that.
Okay, so then East of Eden, John Steinbeck is one of my favorite authors. It's one of my favorite books. And this whole idea of how he interpreted, which I know there's controversy over, but how he interpreted this line, which is, and if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. So that John Steinbeck, his thing is, this was translated, and the original word was really more of thou may.
Right, that's what Steinbeck says in the book.
Yeah, thou may rule over it.
Right,
like,
which the scholars have issue with. But
but it's an example of how like this thing is, however old, like what are we looking at? 2,000 years old?
The Old Testament?
The Old Testament?
Much older
than that.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, that's NT.
NT's 2K. NT's a little newer than 2K years old.
Okay.
And then OT is like hundreds of years before that.
Okay, so but it comes from like dead languages. It's all been translated. It started
Ancient
off like
Hebrew.
Yeah. And so like there's a bunch of debate just on like what exact word it's supposed to be and what that could mean.
Mm-hmm.
And like you must is very different from you may, which is there's another option. I can't remember what the other option was, but
I don't see sure. I don't see must and may as in argument with each other. I think those flow together fine.
Sure, but in East of Eden there's a sense that like May is, it's an important distinction, even though it's subtle. Like it's an important distinction because it's like you can make this decision. You're not like, you don't have to, but you can. And the because it's a softer use of the word, it's like it's more empowering when you do make those decisions.
Sure.
You must is very different than you can and you want to, you know?
Well, that's what's interesting is it's saying you must is, I agree with you, a heavier handed way of saying the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Saying you may is saying like
Yeah.
you may rule over it. Like you have to make that decision yourself. And saying
Yeah.
you must is like you have to make that decision yourself or you will suffer.
Sure.
Which is shown in East of Eden, right? Because
Yeah.
people who didn't make that decision suffered.
Yeah.
So it's like you must make this for a good life. The kind of presumption with the word must is like that you want to live a happy, good life.
Sure.
You know? And so it's like you may rule over it. Kind of leaves the door open for like, or not, and like live that life. It's like, no, that's terrible. If that's if you not ruling over it is an option, I want to be totally clear that that's a bad option.
Okay.
So I'm going to say you must rule over it in order to live well, because I want you to live well.
Yeah.
You know? So it's one of those, I like, they're not disagreeing with each other, but I definitely agree with what you said in terms of like May is softer. And in a certain sense, maybe it's just like the American culture again of us of just like not telling me what to do. Like giving me the option of like, you may is like, thank you. That's so much nicer than you must.
Sure, but I
Right?
think it also comes back to like when we talk about like you, what is it, proselytizing, you know, or you like trying to convert people, like when it's, or not you, but anybody, when they feel
Right.
like they're being told you must and it doesn't come from within them, they're not going to do it.
No, yeah, it sucks.
They're not going to pursue it with their heart,
Right.
because it's being forced upon them in
Right.
a way, versus you can do this and it is a better life, it's a better sell.
Yeah, may sounds more loving.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Must sounds more desperate.
Exactly.
Which is why I resonate with must because I'm a
need
desperate person. I'm like
desperate person.
I'm freaking out constantly, and everyone else like, what's the big deal? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm freaking out. And so, yeah, that's I think must resonates with me, but may, I think they're completely fair. I just think
Sure.
may de-emphasizes how terrible not following through.
It maybe
would
doesn't add enough like alarm to like how important this is.
be. Right.
Sure, but I think, you know,
It's like if the building's on fire and then you go, you may leave. It's like saying,
Sure.
okay, yeah, the building's on fire. You must leave. It's that sort of situation, I think.
yeah, but how many times does a fire alarm go off and everybody's like, it's just a fucking drill?
Dude, that's almost a perfect example for this because people are like,
But it's a drill
not
a lot
real.
of the time. You know, when
That's
like
what I'm
office
saying.
safety ones, you're like, fire alarm's got to go out. We got to get the thing. You got to see the fire. You got to feel the fire before you rush out of the
why?
building.
Yeah, listen, people don't come to God because they're like chill and everything's cool. No one's like,
Remember when my friend came a couple weekends ago and you're like, is everything okay?
wait, what?
when my friend came,
Right.
you were like, hey, is she doing all right?
Oh,
'Cause
right. Yeah,
usually
yeah,
when
yeah.
non-religious people come to church, it's like,
Yeah.
I had a joke
I was
about
like, what are
that
they going
for
through?
a while.
Oh, really?
It was like, yeah, my buddy has found God because his life is awful.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like the only time you find God is
100%.
the joke was essentially like we treat God like the gross girl at the end of the bar at night when it's like I have no other options.
Dude, exactly. I
Yeah.
think that's very apt. One of the people that's come to church with me, the person that it resonated with the least was the person who had the quote unquote best life. Good girlfriend, good job, good comedy's going good, everything's going great.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's really nice. Really didn't resonate with them at all.
Yeah, it's just nice.
And then
It's not
another
needed.
friend who told me, I don't want to become a Christian out of desperation.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really the only way to do it. Is you gotta be, because then you're like, yeah, I'll take it because it's nice for me. And then,
Yeah.
but you're not realizing you need it. And
Yeah.
like, you're not going to rest on something that you don't need. You know, you lean on a cane when you need it. Otherwise you're just twirling it around and you're not
Sure.
seeing it for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an anonymous program that some people are in where they say that like you have to bottom out. This is not
Sure.
this is not everybody has this mentality, but it's some people have this mentality of
Yeah.
like you have to hit a bottom, or else you're gonna come in and use it until it's good, and then you'll just go back out.
Exactly. I mean, some people have high bottoms, so that's like true. But other people,
Hot bottom.
high bottom.
Oh, I really need to whack
So
off.
alone. That's, you're so alone. You're like, I said high bottom, and you're like, yo, that woman's high right now.
Hot bottom.
Whoa, hot bottom.
But yeah, I think that's an interesting thing to think about, that I'm thinking about when I read it, is this has gone through multiple filtration systems. And
for sure.
that's something to be considered. I think the intention, is that's also what's cool about it, right? Is like this goes through many stages of people to get where it is now. And that means something.
Sure, I think it does mean something. And again, I am not I'm not a scholar of any sort. But in terms of Old Testament translation, it was ancient Hebrew, and then back then it was translated into Greek, and that's called the Septuagint. The Greek Old Testament is called the Septuagint, and that was like what people were reading from my understanding. I could totally be wrong on this. From my understanding, the Septuagint is what they were reading in Jesus' time.
Sure.
For the Old Testament, that's what they were using then. So it was like in ancient Greek. That's what they were.
But then all Catholic is in Latin.
Yeah, but it's a whole different deal.
Okay.
That's more Roman. That's Roman Catholic, because Rome was in Latin and stuff like that.
Yeah. My brain can't hold on to timelines. So
Sure.
I don't, for me, this might as well be happening on a different Earth. Because really it's like the fact that like the Romans and Greeks are kind of existing all at the same time. I mean, I know it was Sumerians, and then Romans and Greeks have their own thing, but I couldn't conceptualize that all this was going on at the same time.
Yeah, well, they're in the Roman Empire. I mean, not this, obviously, but the New Testament is all like under Rome occupation.
Yeah.
And that's why they thought the Messiah was going to be someone who frees them from political.
Right. But the Old Testament is coming out of like paganism and Babylon and like
We're not even at Babylon yet. We're way pre all of that.
But the Tower of Babel's in like a couple chapters. I mean, they go through history. Everybody's fucking 8,000 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it starts from zero.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's pre all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And no dinosaurs.
Well, they just didn't mention, there's a few things in like Job where they talk about, Leviathan and things of that nature. So there's a few mentions where people are like, ooh, dinosaurs,
Okay.
So.
But anyway, that huge, massive digression was about the way to interpret things, and also like how they've been translated. Which I think is an interesting thing to think about if you're going to read this.
Right.
And then, not to make it all about Steinbeck, but his take is basically like this is like what all of humanity's struggles are boiled down to, is how we react to rejection. Right.
Sure, and but also just resisting evil.
Sure.
Like it's like thou mayest. I mean, that's really what it boils down to, right?
Yeah.
Is oh man, I'm gonna get their names ruined. Cal.
Yeah.
Right at the end of it, he gets Tim Shell from his dad.
Yeah.
And because he has these two halves of evil, which is
Right.
funny, is because he's not even that's not even his kid, right?
Yeah.
It's his
brother's
brother,
kid. Adam's brother.
right? Adam's
Charles.
kid. Yeah, Charles's kid.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so you've got this one half of pure evil.
Kathy.
From Kathy.
Yeah.
And this other half that's good. But even that good isn't Adam good.
Yeah, it's Charles good.
It's Charles good.
Which is more like guilt good.
Which is more like guilt good, but it is real, right?
Yeah.
It's grounded.
Well, he's disciplined and he's hardworking. And
Yeah.
He's dedicated to something.
He's not as avoidant.
Yeah.
He's really like, and so I think, and then Adam tells him, thou mayest.
Yeah.
Kind of saying, yes, you can be good. You are not bound by the sins of your fathers, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's like, sin is crouching at your door. You may ignore, you're not just this genetic. I mean, like if there's anything in East of Eden, it is saying that we have free will to the utmost extent.
We can operate somewhat outside of our environment.
Sure. Oh, my dad was an alcoholic. His dad was an alcoholic. His dad was an alcoholic. And it's like, yeah, you don't have to be, you can escape that cycle. Your grandpa was a pastor. My grandpa was a pastor. Now neither of us we've escaped. Okay,
Yeah.
that's my point. We're
For the better.
Yeah, neither of us are pastors.
But I
We're
guess
public speakers,
I guess what I understood it as is the evil comes from our reaction to rejection. Like when God doesn't give us what we want, right? When we don't get what we want from God, despite giving him something we think, our reaction to that can be evil. Like we can kill our brother. We can hate other people. We don't. It doesn't even have to be a physical thing, but we don't have to do that.
No, we don't have to do that. But also, what God is saying here to Cain is saying, "Give me all of you."
Yeah.
Because what Cain is doing is he's withholding. He's
Sure.
not giving him his first fruits. He's giving him some stuff.
Yeah.
And Abel is casting all of himself. His best is giving to God. Right. And so God's like, I need your best. Like, give me all of you.
Why do you think? Yeah, he does me. It's firstborn of the flock. He really makes it sound good.
Yeah. Abel's like, he's giving me, Cain's giving me stuff, and Abel's giving me his best thing.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's kind of not what happens in East of Eden. It's like the Adam gives just a dog he found on the road that the dad loves. And Charles worked very hard to get money to give the dad a knife. So I guess maybe it's an intention thing. Like one was like, I'm doing this to impress him, versus the other was, he might like this. I don't know. Like,
Sure,
we're talking about a different book right now, I guess, but
right, and also that to me is very much like prodigal son like too, which is a different parable in the New Testament where it's like he had two sons, one ran away, the other stayed. The one who ran away and came back got a huge party thrown for him, and the one who stayed the whole time got Jack. And he was like, well, what the hell is this about? He was a bad kid. Why does he get all this good stuff?
Right.
And so it's also like kind of a mixture of those two things as well.
Okay.
I find it to be.
Okay. And to be very clear, you're talking about East of Eden.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, Steinbeck was super influenced by the Bible.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, you have any other thoughts about Cain and Abel? Because it goes East of Eden, and then we get right back to Cain knew his wife, which means he came inside of her.
That's right.
And she conceived and bore Enoch, and then we get into
we kind of really brushed over the Cain killing Abel thing, but because he was jealous of him and he killed him.
Yeah, okay, I guess we can talk about that.
That's like the whole story. And then God was like, what the hell did you do?
Yeah.
And we don't have to talk about it because it seems pretty
I
straightforward.
don't even know why he asks stuff. That sometimes that bothers me about God. Don't make me say it.
Right, but also I think there is a sense of
you have
willingness to be open. To be like, it's confession. It's an opportunity. Do you want to be pried open or do you want to give freely?
Sure.
And I think God gives us the opportunity to give freely.
Right.
Saying, okay, what did you do? And you go, I did this, I did this, I did this.
Yeah, I might have killed my brother with a big rock.
Anyways.
Okay, and then we get to another long list of people fathering others, really only mentioning the men's names for the most part.
Well, what are you going to do? Right. So many women. I don't know.
And then we get to Adam's descendants to Noah.
To Noah, yeah.
I mean, is there much to go over there? Is that because that's just like the same? Oh wait, is this important? The Zela was born to Cain. He was a forger of instruments in bronze and iron. Are any of these details? Because like they'll talk about like, oh, this guy fathered this guy, and then they'll add details like this guy was a forger of instruments.
Maybe they're just talking about like, I mean, I'm definitely not an expert at any of this part in the Old Testament. Or again, I'm not an expert at anything, but these parts are definitely the lesser known parts to myself.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, so that's maybe they're talking about technological things because this wasn't told to us first. It was told to ancient people, and they're like, so this is the guy that actually started like doing iron and bronze work. So that's the guy that did that.
Sure. Lamech said to his wife Ada and Zillah, "Hear my voice, you wives of Lamech. Listen to what I say. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me. If Cain's revenge is sevenfold, then Lamech's is 77-fold." What? I mean, is that important?
Well, I think so. That's there to show like, the evil of the people.
So okay,
right?
So to just saying like, hey, they're killing people now.
They're doing bad stuff. Like Cain killed someone, and this guy's like, I'm gonna do so much worse than that for so much less.
Yeah.
So it's like this idea of really painting a picture of the evil of man on the earth.
Okay.
Kind of setting you up for the Noah story.
And then Adam knew his wife, which once again is meaning he jizzed
inside of her.
And she bore a son called Seth. Seth, he's going to be important.
Seth's a good guy.
Seth's a good guy. like Seth Meyers.
Also, like one of the first normal names.
Yeah.
It is weird that they're like Lamech, Nimrod, Enoch, Seth.
Seth, yeah.
Okay.
There's really a lot of Tubal Cain.
Yeah.
And then so Seth is basically kind of going to be blessed. Adam's descendants to Noah, chapter 5. What anything to say about this that you can think of?
About the descendants?
Yeah, because this is just another tree of...
Yeah, just really, really long.
Yeah.
Tons of people lived
Lived
a long
105, 807 years.
time.
Yeah, this Methuselah, the only interesting thing is he's the oldest ever, right?
Yeah.
In the book.
970 something?
969.
969.
69. Wow.
Yeah.
And then Noah, when he was 500 years old, he fathered Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Japheth.
And then we get to increasing corruption on earth. So this is when the Nephilim come in.
Yes. Yeah.
But
so that goes back to
basically-
what I said earlier about like the Nephilim being like fallen angels potentially.
Yeah, because that's again like in my notes. I have that question off again. It's like, oh, the sons are noticing the daughters are hot, and so they start fucking. So basically, a lot of incest.
Sure, but also you're saying sons of God and sons of man, right? So
Sure.
those are also like perhaps two different people groups.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
that is an important
So
distinction.
the son of God being perhaps from Adam, right? Because Adam is the son of God. And then you have son of man perhaps being from the Nephilim or from some other aspect, maybe from Cain or from whoever,
Okay.
right? So again, interacting with this, who then, I can't think of the right word, spoiled when you like drop something. Yeah, when you like...
5-second rule.
No, like when you drop something in a drink and now you can't drink the drink anymore. It spoiled it. Taints.
Yeah, taints.
Tainted it.
They taint.
So it's like, yeah, they tainted the pure sons of God, and so brought sin and destruction into the
Nephilim did, or
that's what some people
potentially
are
the
saying.
Sons of Cain, who are tainted.
Sons of Cain, Nephilim,
Yeah.
or like the fallen angels. Who knows what the Nephilim were? Some people are saying, I mean, giants.
Yeah, that was the note in the ESV.
Right. Yeah. So
English Standard Version. That's what that stands for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's study Bibles, and that's what that
Can
is.
you see this Bible in the thing?
Yeah, they can see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just fat.
You see a big beach. So this was a point of interest to me. Is all right. So they talk about wickedness is spreading throughout the land.
Terrible.
And then God, heard of him, God goes, I will blot man out, whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. God has regrets.
Yeah. Interesting.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I think there's this weird. I couldn't dive into that too much because obviously he's sorry he made them, but he didn't. He saved Noah, right? And he gave a path for salvation through Jesus.
Sure.
So it's like he's sorry he made them in the sense that he's like, it's not like he's like, oh no, I didn't know it'd go this way. Like he's not like blindsided by this, right?
Okay.
I think he's seeing the free will and he's seeing that people are expressing their free will in a very evil way. So he's kind of putting the smackdown on the judgment through the flood and stuff like that. And also sons of man. Also, I'm like conflating this with the Nephilim. Like maybe he's saying he regrets that he created the Nephilim or something like that. I don't know what exactly that means. This is a harder thing for me to dive
people
into.
spend their whole lives.
But talking about like
Rabbis
sorry,
and shit spend their whole lives trying to figure this stuff out. But
right?
I guess if you had like an inclination towards it, because I don't know, you've said before, like, we're made in God's image, and the things that he does that I criticize, like he's angry or he's wrathful, that seems like, and then you say he's all loving and stuff. That seems, but you go, well, and we have these emotions. This is what I'm trying to say. We have these emotions like anger and jealousy, and we're made in God's image. So does that mean that he has those things? And it's like, well, yes, maybe it does, but that doesn't mean they're bad.
Sure.
Right?
Well,
so it's like God has a
that's a great
regret. That doesn't mean regret. that doesn't mean regrets are bad. Is kind of what I was thinking when I made this little note.
Yeah, I think that could totally be true. I mean, with anger specifically, I was listening to a Tim Keller sermon this week about anger. He says anger in its seed form, its root is good. Anger is actually a good thing because you get angry at injustice, right? Anger is a desire for righteousness in its best form, right? Yeah. We pervert that to say anger at our perception of justice, which oftentimes is not justice. It's like, well, this is a bad thing that happened to me, and I'm not, we're making it self-centered. Whereas like true anger, righteous anger is like a good thing because it's anger at an injustice.
Yeah.
So God is angry. God is angry. God is jealous. He's wrathful, but also he's merciful, and he solves this problem through the person of Jesus
by killing everyone.
Except Noah, and there's still sin on the land because Noah is still there. He's a sinful person.
Yeah,
and then he solves the problem of sin through Jesus. Right, that's where that salvation comes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I mean, it's like, yeah, I could tell you still have more there, but what are you thinking?
Well, it's like I think regret implies mistake, and mistake kind of goes into the idea of imperfection and error. So
yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's kind of the thing that I keep going back to, which is this perfect source fucking up, which is either we take that as perfection. Part of perfection is imperfection. It's like a yin and yang thing,
right?
Or this kind of is all bullshit because something that's perfect can't make a mistake.
Well, so what I would say is really, and again, I don't know this, but what I would do is I would dive into what the word sorry means, because sorry could also be perceived as like sad. He's sad that he made them this way. He's sad that they're sinning. He's sad that they're evil, right? Doesn't mean he's sorry in the sense that he's like, God, I shouldn't have done that, But I can't speak to, I know there's going to be tons of, if you just YouTube literally this exact passage, there will be like 10 sermons that pop up on this immediately. So there's going to be answers out there. I just don't have the right answer.
But that's what I think when I read this.
That he goofed?
Yeah, he's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, and I would say, again, this is because I already believe it, right? I would say, no, he doesn't have regrets. He doesn't, because God's perfect. Like you're saying, I believe in these character traits of God, that he's all good. He doesn't make mistakes, which is why ultimately you see the struggle from the free will of man that ruins things, and God saves those things that were ruined, right? Through Jesus.
Yeah, I think the free will is something we're going to keep popping in and out of, because it's like,
forever.
It's forever. But it's like the free will also implies that you're operating outside of his power, which makes it seem.
No, I don't think that's true.
I mean, that logic is there of like that if I am doing something that God does not have control over.
Well, what do you mean by control over?
Well, like it's either he made me and everything I do is from and through and by him, or there's this thing which means my fuck ups are by him too, right? And then he's judging me for the fuck ups. That's well, yeah, if you have no free will, that's not fair. Exactly.
Right.
So then that means, okay, then there is some space that I'm operating outside of his control.
I mean, it's interesting to say outside of his control.
Yeah.
Because it's like
outside of his
if I gave my kid a car,
yeah.
right, and I gave him the car, he has the free will to drive the car. If he crashes the car, that's not my fault because I gave him the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're a person.
Right, but God made us with free will.
Okay.
So how we use that will is our responsibility. It's not outside of his control in the sense that like, because otherwise we'd all be controlled and we would effectively be, robots. We wouldn't have free will. There would be no love. There would be all these things that wouldn't be a capacity to do that because we have the capability to make decisions on our own.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I want to move on because I want to think about it more, but it's like, it's a point that I have like an intuition about, but I don't have the right words for it yet.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, then we go through, now we get to the flood. So,
I scratch my balls a lot on here. I hope that's all right.
I think that's what a lot of people will tune in for.
I'm a big pinch and roll guy.
Yeah.
Really gotta.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I'm more of a booger guy than a ball guy.
Really?
Yeah. Like How
do you
one of my
do this?
favorite things is sitting in my apartment, picking my nose, and then just flicking it out into the rest of my apartment.
Flick it into Momo's room. Just go.
Not Momo's room, but just like, it's almost like I know I'm going to step on them just logically.
Oh.
But it's just like, they'll disappear.
Dude, it's the hair from it. You get a couple hairs and you feel it and you prime it. You're like, oh, yes.
That's going to hurt good.
And you're like, oh, whoo. And you look at them and you see how many you got.
It's like eating wasabi.
Yeah.
Clears you out.
Yeah.
Okay, so increasing corruption on Earth. Basically, Earth's getting pretty hot and naughty.
It's getting bad.
And so God's like, I'm going to kill everyone and all this stuff except for Noah. He's going to bring these people, he's going to bring his family and then a bunch of bugs and giraffes and stuff.
Yeah.
Onto this
big old
boat. Cubits, many cubits big.
Sorry, I'm checking.
So many cubits. It's not you, it's me.
No, it's me.
Oh, your blood sugar.
Yeah, I'm gonna give myself a shot.
Oh,
but keep
let's
talking.
pause.
No, you don't need to pause. Just keep talking. I'll probably still be in camera.
Let's just pause.
Okay.
Cubits, baby. We're talking cubits.
Cubits.
That's how I have it written down in my notes. What is a cubit?
Wow. You want to put that as a bookmark in here? Oh, does it cover it right here?
It covers it.
Okay.
So in modern measurement, the ark would have been around 450 feet, so 140 meters long, 75 feet wide, 23 meters, and 45. So about the size of the yacht that Jeff Bezos had to break down, like a bridge in Portland to get his super yacht inside of his bay.
Dude, have you heard about the Noah experience in I think it's in Kentucky?
Well, we have Noah's Ark in the Wisconsin Dells.
Oh, really?
Which is the water park capital of the world.
Oh, cool.
And Noah's Ark is a big Christ-themed water park.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's so funny.
And really, there's nothing like
walking on water.
It's called Noah's Ark just because there's water in this story, but then all of the rides are like SpongeBob and death related. So you're like, let's go to Noah's Ark, and then it's just like a bunch of.
Oh, that's hilarious.
There's like a swimming area that has like a bunch of figurines of animals and stuff, but other than that, it's pretty much just a water park.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Someone was like, "We're gonna evangelize via water park," and then it's just completely.
Honestly, I don't know that that's not true.
I'm sure it is true
because it's in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm sure it is true.
Yeah,
there is an actual Noah's Ark that's been built. I think it's at the Creation Museum or something in Kentucky.
The Creation Museum.
I think it's in Kentucky. My parents have gone. They said they really. It's like literally a life. It's like to these measurements ark.
And they looked at that and they're like, yeah, they could fit every animal in there.
Well, back then it was a lot earlier on, a lot fewer animals. You know, we believe in. They'll believe in microevolution. So they're like, see how many variants there are out there. You know? So they, yeah. So they believe in micro. They probably just wasn't as many.
Okay. There wasn't as many.
Not as many.
But so it's a big fucking boat. And this is one thing that confused me. He's told about the flood. He's told to build the boat, and then a week later the flood comes. So he builds the boat in a week.
No, he does. No, what? When does it say a week later?
It's not like a week, but it's like there's a timeline.
Yeah, I think
timeline announcement of the flood 7 days in advance.
Announcement of the flood that it is coming, but not that that's when he needs to build the boat.
Okay, maybe
someone did the math. Is like it took him a couple hundred years to build the boat.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's a big boat.
Right.
And I think I was just conflating this thing.
Make a roof for the thing. Everything is on the other side. Okay.
We got to get sponsors.
It just says. So we can.
I can talk while you're mumbling, reading, and you can do the You can talk about Blue Chew while
right,
I'm
exactly.
reading the
Blue
Bible.
Chew. Get hard with marriage.
Your wife.
Yeah. Your wife tired of your not boner?
Of your half hard dick.
Yeah. But I will establish my covenant with you. Yeah, on here it doesn't say. It just says build the ark. Noah did this. He did all the things that God commanded him. Then the Lord said to Noah. I mean, 1 verse to 2 verse.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like
I was conflating this, but either way, it did feel quick.
Dude, the Bible packs a lot into it.
The books feel quick.
Yeah,
but I guess
packs a lot.
That's how you know it was written by a man. It's really straight to the.
Yeah, but what else happened? It's like, shut up. I built it.
Actually, there's a lot of names you're supposed to remember.
That's a good point. Yeah. Remember, who else was there?
Yeah,
Enoch was the
Zebula's wife and Kubla Khan's granddaughter.
I don't know who else. Oh my gosh, was the nephew there?
Yeah. Why did you make them Jewish? Because it's Old Testament. Yeah, they're all Jewish. That's good. That's a good nuance. Yeah. Okay, so they make all the clean animals. Are you still diabetic?
No, it's just fine. It's on Do Not Disturb.
You know what I don't get out of diabetes is how can you stab yourself with needles that many times and still not be cured? It's so many times.
It's not a cure every time. It's actually
But as my baby brain functions, it's like
cure.
No
needle
way
cure.
that many needles,
dude. Thousands.
That's big. That's big pharma and
thousands and thousands of time a day
in my head.
Yeah.
Okay, so. He builds a thing in the 600th year. Noah's life, the second month, 7th. Okay, so basically they're floating in the boat. They go to the top of like a mountain.
Mount Ararat.
Ararat, where it sits on top.
Yep.
And they chill there. The rain stops. And then he sends out like a crow or something.
Yeah.
Is it a crow?
Crow, raven or something.
Yeah, raven.
Yeah.
Sends out a raven. Raven doesn't come back. Yeah. And then
it doesn't
no, the raven doesn't come back.
Raven doesn't come back.
And then he sends out a dove.
Mm-hmm.
The dove flies around and then comes back
with an olive branch.
Well,
because he does this like 7 times, like 6 times or so.
Just 3 in this that I read. It's the
really?
raven and then the dove and then
the other dove that doesn't come back.
The dove comes back and then he goes, but it comes back with an olive branch. So he goes, okay, I know that there's dry land somewhere nearby because he comes with an olive branch. And then 7 days later, everything's 7 days. And then he sends it out again and it doesn't come back. And that's how he know, okay, the dove found a place that's hospitable.
Right.
The sun's coming out soon or whatever.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave out.
Yeah.
We can get out of the fucking boat. That probably stinks so bad.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then they get off the boat and he makes like a sacrifice.
Yeah, he makes a sacrifice to the clean animals to the Lord for preserving them.
Yeah, and then God creates a covenant.
Yeah.
With him of like, I promise you're going to get, I promise one day you and your people are going to have the most powerful lobby in the United States, and they're going to be able to lobby for you guys to have Israel.
What? The United States? What is this? How is?
But he promises basically like the land of Canaan or whatever.
Yeah, Canaan.
Canaan, basically Israel to Noah and his offsprings.
Yes, it's funny because it says lands of Canaan, but Canaan isn't even born yet. Canaan is one of the kids.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the gist.
Yeah, that's the gist.
Any thoughts?
I mean, no. I feel like the meat and potatoes we kind of talked about in terms of like God wiping people off the earth. That's really the big thing. Is it's like, but he saved. Although he destroyed so many people, he did save them. He did show mercy on on humankind by surviving,
by not completely restarting from scratch.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So there was that salvation, and then providing, and then from there came the humans.
Why couldn't he just come down and be like, guys, stop it?
Guys, cut it out. I mean, I think that's another thing I've been thinking about more.
You're so powerful. Just tell them to stop it.
Yeah, just tell them to cut it out. Again, so much of this has to do with like preservation of free will. And also, I think about like what their experience of God was back then. Because if you're like let's take the 6-day creationist side of things, and Adam was literally created out of dirt. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then you just go, oh yeah, my great grandpa was made out of dirt. He's like the first. He's like the first guy that was made.
Sure.
And so you're like, yeah, God's real. Like there's no question as to the reality of God.
Because
everyone knows. Yeah, because your great grandpa was made out of dirt, and you could talk to him. Sure. That's another thing you think about. It's like they had this person, they had this person, they had this person. If you stack up all their timelines, they overlap like a lot.
Okay.
So you could talk to Adam when you're like 8 gens deep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could just go and be like, oh yeah, this guy, you walked with God in Eden. He was like, it was the best. It was, you know, so it's like, you know that God's real.
Okay.
And you're still being like, nah, I'm just going to kind of do what I want.
Yeah,
Like there's a greater degree of rebellion there than like now a lot of us are like, I don't know if he's real.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's, you know, it's a different sort of thing. It's like, if you don't think you have parents and you're just living wild in your house going crazy, or if you're like, I have parents, I know them, I know what they've told me to do, and I just am never going to do that.
Yeah. So
it's like
they're
a difference.
honestly worse.
Yeah, their rebellion and is like in the face of God. It's like, no, I know you're real and I don't care. It's like a much greater degree of rebellion, I think.
Interesting.
That's something I was thinking about this week.
Okay. So one of the questions I had when I was reading is like symbology.
Oh, cool.
Why raven at first, and then why does he switch to dove?
He probably hated the raven. He's probably just get the hell out of here.
These guys are dicks.
Ugh, I hate
they can
them.
remember things.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's, I don't know. I have zero clue why that's happened. I mean, a dove is a symbol of peace, especially a dove holding an olive branch. Like you see that all the time.
Extending an olive branch.
Yeah, you see that all the time as a sign of peace and prosperity. So it's like, I don't know why it started that way.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know why the raven doesn't show up and he's like, guess he's dead. And the dove doesn't show up and they're like, I guess he's alive somewhere. It's kind of a weird, like, I don't.
Very strange.
Why would you assume that?
Yeah, why isn't he just dead with the raven?
Yeah, why isn't I don't understand. Also, you imagine how screwed the raven felt? Like it keeps going. And it just doesn't find anything. It's like, what are you doing to me?
What's the point of having a raven memory? Am I conflating them with crows? Do I have to stop saying the word conflate? I think I do.
Quite frankly, I don't really know the difference between a raven and a crow. So
I think they're kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's like a pigeon and a dove. It's like, oh yeah, this same.
That's funny as he sends out a pigeon.
It's not pigeon because those were they were by the end of it there were 85,000 pigeons in the ark.
Sure.
Disgusting. He called them the rats of the ark. Dude, I was sitting in Washington Square Park yesterday. Just a mob of rats behind me, just in the bushes. Just,
ew.
It was kind of
really
cool.
I mean, grotesque.
Yeah, grotesque is a good word. There's a show on FX.
Really?
Grotesquerie or something?
No, I never heard of it.
Looks cool.
Okay, and then God can eat the animals now, but not drink their blood. What?
He's just saying drain the blood. Don't eat their blood. It'll make you sick.
Yeah, what's that about? Is that just like one of those like, hey, back then they were drinking blood and it was making people sick? Like the same thing with the pigs?
Well, yeah, it could be that. I mean, it's an interesting thing because God puts a lot of things in his law that seems eventually like, why would you do that? But also it's like, oh, that's actually how humans work. You know, like the whole like symbolic washing of stuff, like Jews washing their hands.
Yeah. You
know who the Black Plague in the Middle Ages didn't affect? The Jewish community. Why? Because they wash their hands because of the law, right? So it's like, okay, we don't know anything about germ theory, but God said, wash your hands before eating, before doing all this stuff. So in a weird sense, God's like, I'm not going to explain germ theory to you. Just follow the law, wash your hands.
It's interesting.
And so it's that sort of thing. Also, like circumcision happens on the 8th day, right? Why? Just do it. It's on the 8th day. Now we know that blood clots. I forget the aspect that makes one's blood clot, but that aspect is of highest
hemoglobin.
Hemoglobin, is that real?
I don't know.
Okay, let's call it hemoglobin. We have the most hemoglobin.
Platelets.
We have the most clotting in our bodies at 8 days old to stop bleeding. So it's like, okay, so cutting a baby on the 8th day is the safest day for it to not bleed out. So it's like another thing where it's like,
there could have just been a absolute big hole of babies that it took to get to the one baby. We're like, it's 8.
And then they wrote down that it's 8. Or God told them it's 8. You know, it's like, all right.
That's true. But
yeah. So, but the thing is, it's like, it's interesting to see the overlap of like laws with just general health that wouldn't be discovered until literally thousands of years later. And it's just like, yeah, that's why.
Yeah, but I mean, you could still take like an evolutionary standpoint of like all the years and years of people just paying attention to, oh, this mushroom kills you, this one gets you high.
Sure.
You know, like every single open micer has the thought, that the genius thought of like, man, can you imagine being the guy that had to figure out the difference between poisonous berries and delicious berries?
Hey,
Did you have that thought?
no.
I've talked to so many people.
I know the open micers that you're talking about. Yeah.
I've seen that. I had that thought that I thought was funny is like the guy who has to figure out what mushrooms are good and bad.
Dude, yeah. I feel like this is the most common. This is one of the most common thoughts that you have before starting stand up. You're like, I'm a genius. People are like, yeah, I'm doing stand up comedy, but I'm gonna be sitting down this entire set. I hope that's okay. And everyone's like, oh, like I'm gonna call it sit down comedy. I'm gonna sit down on the stool.
Anytime I see a person start to sit down, and I will add the caveat that's white.
Yeah.
I genuinely just turn my brain off.
Dude, 100%.
I mean, that's like a racism that I can actually stand by. Is like any white guy sitting down and stand up, I go, nope, unless it's Big J.
It's so interesting because if a white dude sits down, I'm like, you suck. And if a black dude sits down, I'm like, I think you rock. Like, I think you're
it really
you're
is like this guy's cool.
Yeah, 1,000%. Hold court.
Okay, so we were pre-recording we went over a little bit, but there was a bunch of stuff before that I'll cut out. So do we want to stop it here and then because we were talking about reviewing. Last time we were saying like, oh, maybe we'll like review anything from the day before. Or did we say we're not going to do that?
I think if there's anything to pick up, then we can make a point to. But if not,
I can't think of anything.
I can't think of anything either. So
do we have a way to end things? Did we?
Well, where are we right now? What were we just talking about?
We just talked about God's covenant.
Why the ravens?
Why the ravens?
What was the covenant? That he would what?
That he would get.
But he also made another covenant with the rainbow. We didn't talk about that with Noah.
Oh, okay. Then let's end on the rainbow.
Yeah.
Can you say the rainbow?
So basically, God makes a promise, and the symbol of that promise is the rainbow, that he will never destroy the earth as such again. Come on, that's got to be right. The flood subsides. God bless Noah, and be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, he kept saying his bow, and my brain was like, he's got like a compound bow or something.
Yeah. Behold, I said, establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you, with every living creature is with you, the livestock, that never again, this is 9 verse 11, chapter 9 verse 11. I establish my covenant with you that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy them. This is the sign of the covenant that I make between you and every living creature that is with you, all future generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, rainbow, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth, when I bring the clouds over the earth and the bow is seen in the clouds. Yeah.
So we're supposed when we see a rainbow, we're supposed to look at it and go, "Wow, thank God that He is not gonna
destroy the planet again."
He's almost like showing us, "Hey, I can make it rain a lot, but
thanks for stopping it.
It's gonna end."
Yeah.
So remember that
100%. And so that's His covenant there, is that He will not destroy the earth again. Which is also why people are like, "Oh, the super volcano, oh the what?" It's like there's going to be tragedy, and there are like tsunamis, hurricanes, things of this nature. But it will not destroy the earth again as the flood here. Also, by the way, we didn't even touch on this, so just to mention it, but not really dive into it. Some people read this and see it as a local flood, not a worldwide flood.
Yeah.
Some people see this as like, yeah, that whole area was flooded.
Yeah.
So,
there was other stuff going on.
Some people think that. Other people think it was literally the whole earth. Some people who argue for that are like, oh, it was Pangea before, and then the flood just split it up.
Sure.
Just really, and that's why things look, is another young age thing. This is why things look so old, because water ages things like super fast. And so people are like, yeah, because everything was under the water. That's why everything looks so damn old.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it says He's never going to flood the earth again. It doesn't say He's not going to ever destroy it, right?
He'll destroy it with fire, but
that's
He does say refine it with fire.
I can't remember. I don't know if it came up talking to you, but refine it with fire. Is that OT? Is that in here?
That's I'm sure OT and NT. That's talking about the second coming. The Lord will refine it with fire. I mean, who knows exactly what that means, if that's metaphorical or literal. Dude, I would tend to lean metaphorical on that, but
how hard do like those people who like really want the like rapture to happen, how hard do they get when the nuclear bomb went off and they're like, "Oh, this is gonna be it, baby.
Let's go." That's funny.
Ramp it up.
Yeah, well, that whole idea of the rapture being that way, I think that's like pretty new. I think that's like in the last maybe 100 years.
Is that there's like a particular brand of is that
Left
Seventh
Behind.
Day?
No. Well, I don't know what their eschatology is. So that eschatology is which study of end times.
Oh, okay.
Is
Eschatology is the study of end times.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's a whole thing. So like those people would be called premillennialists, which means there's 1,000 years reign that's talked about in Revelation, that people think Jesus is going to come down and rule in Israel for 1,000 years, literally as king. Right. But before that, there's going to be 7 years of trial and tribulation. So the Christians are just going to get taken away. Right. Only non-Christians on the earth. Then for 7 years, there's going to be just famines, not just bad garbage everywhere.
Sure.
For 7 years. And I think
climate change.
I think they think Moses and Elijah are going to come back and like, preach to people that they might be saved or whatever. Sure. And then Jesus is going to rule for 1,000 years and things will be great. And that's kind of the extent of my knowledge of it. So those people are pre-millennialists, pre-1,000-year reign.
That's a big one.
Oh no, a ball just hit the wall.
Okay.
And then I am considered I would call myself a millennialist or a post-millennialist, which basically thinks that most things written about in Revelation were referring to the destruction of the temple back in AD 70. So that's like more to dive into. But why did we start talking about that? Because
he said he's never going to flood it again. And then I said
right.
You said the fire thing, and I said the dick's getting hard for the nukes.
And those people are probably more premillennialists, so they think like there is going to be 7 years of a refiner's fire, and then Jesus comes back. I do not ascribe to that position, but
that's a lot.
Yep, those are more charismatic and those sorts of Christians. I
guess we got a little time. You've brought up other flood stories.
Sure, I have
any specifics.
Epic of Gilgamesh. There's a flood story there. Almost every ancient. Look at Graham Hancock's stuff on this, and really a lot of other people. He's like people see him as kind of out there, which I think is probably fair. But basically, every ancient civilization has an ancient flood story. So it's like, okay, some crazy flood happened somewhere at some time.
Sure. I mean, we definitely, even evolution is like we came from water, like we evolved out of water.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And so I think like, there's something legit about that, I think.
Yeah, dude, this book I'm reading, The History of God by Karen Armstrong, she talks about the Sumerian idea of like, instead of it being God, like, it's like this dark area that God's looking over and he brings in light. It's like a swamp. It's like this murky water that the gods rise out of. This is like the Sumerian belief. And I read it and I had this like fucking vision of like, have you seen Prometheus?
I haven't.
Okay, well, it's a bad movie, but there's really cool parts of it about how like aliens brought their DNA here, and that's how they like conquer worlds, is like by putting their DNA in the local species and blah blah blah.
Cool.
And that's how like humans come about.
Yeah.
But I had this fucking like, it just like came to me in like a creative splooge,
right,
of like this dark swampy water, and then this like God-like thing coming out of the water,
right? Yeah,
creates ripples, and then it's screaming. It was like really cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like everyone has some sort of every nation and whatever has like a creation myth. Everything has that, and almost all of those ancient ones have a flood story.
Yeah.
The Epic of Gilgamesh is the one, again, like the oldest book, where I think they refer to Noah as like just a different name of some sort, which I mean, yeah, all these names have changed.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. It's like,
it's weird that that's what I was telling you. Like, I'm reading this whole thing and it's like, it's an Abrahamic religion. I've heard that 1,000 times, but then I'm like, who's this fucking Abram guy?
Yeah.
Why do I keep hearing about Abram?
We'll talk about that in the next.
When's Lincoln going to get in there?
Let's talk about that in the next step. We'll dive into that.
All right. Well, this was I think this was an educational one. Maybe not as funny as the other ones, but
no, not as funny. But we're just diving in.
But it is interesting that book talking about the another thing. Sorry, but Adam comes from dust.
Right.
In the Sumerian belief. One of the beliefs is that humans came from a mix between the blood of one of the gods that was spilt during a fight between another god and the dust. So like the
Oh,
dust
interesting.
and the blood of God.
Life
which is
of
like,
God into the dust.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah.
and all of them is there was also something, and I can't remember the specifics, but there was also something about breathing life in through the nostrils.
The point is, these people are not creative. Okay, they're all thinking the same. They're all thinking the same thing.
Everyone's a fucking hack.
Everyone's a hack, dude.
Absolutely.
It's like, yeah, we go. Oh, well, mine has blood in it. Shut up. You got dirt. Yuck.
Shut up.
You're so stupid, dude.
It's dust.
Or it's real.
Yeah, or.
Whoa, terrifying.
But yeah, this has been another installment of
Call him Father.
And tune in for the next one.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.